Good evening, at least in my time. My name is Alan, and I am facilitating a session as part of the Gauntlet RPG community's monthly gaming calendar. This is a session 2 of 4 of Eotenweard, my Dark Age PBTA game of Monster Hunters. We played first session last time, so I'm not going to rehearse any of that. Go back, look at the first one. We are playing with lines and veils and safety tools. The X card is in play. All the players know about all of that stuff. And they know that if anything does come up today that makes them want an X card that they didn't X card last time, that's fine. You know, it's never too late to play the X card. And likewise, if there are any lines or veils that they want to add, they're very welcome to do so. So yes, I think I'm going to get straight into this and ask people to introduce themselves, probably in character keeper order, because I'm just lazy like that. So Kyle, say hello and introduce us to Gunjar the Hammer of the Gods.
Okay, yes, I'm Kyle. My character is Gunjar, and he is a picked survivor of a flooded settlement who has joined this band of mercenaries, which, well, I don't know if they're mercenaries, but they're a band of adventurers, I suppose. Problem solvers. He's, I think I realized last session that he's very much a sort of Wolverine type character because he owes a lot of debts to people for stopping him from harming or killing other people. So I don't know. He has less self-control than I had at first realized. So that's going to be fun to lean into. I had a really great time last time. With some non-lethal combat. That was good. Very quick. I like this system because it handles that very quickly.
Great. Is that a wish for more lethal combat, or are you content with the non-lethal?
I imagine it's probably going to get lethal as we go along because that seemed like just like a warm-up. So, and I'm just going to let Gunjar do what Gunjar does because he seems to do it whether I will like it or not.
Enough said.
It's interesting following a character wherever it leads.
So moving on, Leah, say hello and introduce us to Kiganos Cullius, the priest of God.
So Kiganos Cullius is a priest. He's a priest who's always kind of hoping that God wants him to work in small, humble ways and not in large, dangerous ways. Though he takes his own kind of chances, as we saw last session, when, in order to pray with and for a man who's possibly a demon or possessed by one, he reached out to take his hand like a brother and got bit.
There's just no way to deal with people in the Dark Ages without getting bit. Stentor, say hello and introduce us to Aelfwyn the Saxon Revenant.
Yeah, hi, I'm Stentor. I'm playing Aelfwyn. So she was a Saxon kind of queen or chieftain's wife, whatever the title of that would be, and made a deal with the gods to kill her husband to prevent him from committing some atrocities, then chickened out about that, and so she's now not allowed to die until she completes her mission.
Yes, it was a no-win, that wasn't it? The Saxon gods did not take well to that chickening out. Yep. So yeah, we left it at the end of the last session with all the characters examining the old man caged behind the prefect's hall at Danum, and I think coming to a conclusion after Morwenna, whose player can't be here tonight, so I'm going to kind of deal with Morwenna as we go. Morwenna the Pagan Mystic looked into the other world and saw that there is something something slimy and oily and dark that flows in and around this old man who otherwise looks helpless. And as Kiganos has said, he sat down to pray with the old man, and I think was actually seeking to draw whatever that thing, that essence that Morwenna had sensed in the old man, to draw it out of the old man, and maybe even put it into an object. And unfortunately, that didn't go well, and the man bit her hand, and that's the cliffhanger where we left it. So I'm going to pick up straight away and say that immediately after he bites Kiganos, he throws himself back on the other side of the cage, almost in surprise. Now, Kiganos, the reason that he bit you was because mechanically you rolled a 6 or less. So Kiganos, I want you to hear a whisper. And the whisper says, "Priest, how dare you? You seek to dishonor me and my kin. You will pay." And Kiganos, I would like you to owe the dark old gods a debt, please.
All right. I feel like they owe me since they bit me, but I take your point.
That's what happens when you try to banish a servant of the old gods. And let me kind of try to fill in some of the gap on this, because I think Morwenna would be very clear that the old gods, not all the old gods are dark and bad and evil, but she would admit that some of them are. And I think she hears that as well. And Morwenna looks at Kiganos and says, "I must seek advice," and turns on her heel and walks out of the settlement. Aelfwyn, what do you do when you see any of this unfolding?
So I was actually thinking, I know we're like starting off of a cliffhanger, but you had mentioned wanting me to roll my seeming human move at the beginning of the session. And this might actually be kind of a relevant, like, you know, weird shit's happening, might be a reason that my cover breaks a little bit.
Thank you for reminding me. At the minute, the only non-player character in the vicinity is the old man in the cage and one of the prefect's guards, who's maintained a discreet enough distance for you to be able to talk among yourselves without him overhearing. So yes, roll for seeming human.
Okay, so it's plus soul, and my soul is 3.
I can't possibly go wrong.
Yeah, let me find where'd the dice roller go?
Oh,
where's our?
You found it? Or hang on. There it is. Loosely selected dog.
All right.
And so seeming human, you for all the monstrous characters, they all have this. You usually clothe yourself in the appearance of humanity, but mortals can sometimes sense your true nature. At the start of the session, roll plus soul. Off you go.
Okay. And so I got a 9 on the dice, and my soul is 3. So
on a 10 plus, your outward appearance is seamlessly maintained. But we have a bit of a special effects budget to play with. So what would the audience see that illustrates the fact that could have gone a different way, Aelfwyn?
So I think that you know, 'cause as I'm standing there close to the cage and Kiganos and stuff, you know, I'm maybe like crouched down so that I can hear and, you know, see everything that's going on. I think I briefly get kind of translucent, like kind of almost like an X-ray, and you can see like my skull through my face for a moment, you know, as I'm kind of shocked by what's happening here. But then kind of like, you know, I like close my eyes hard and it kind of comes back together. And I like glance up kind of nervously, and it's clear the guards hadn't noticed or seen that.
Is it possible that in that slight translucency, it's not just a skull, but we see your face as it would be if you had been dead as long as
Yeah,
you should
no, I
have
like that. I like that. Yeah, so it's kind of like withered, like, you know, a body starting to decompose and shrivel up, turning into some kind of like a bog mummy almost.
Yeah, I'm feeling
Yeah.
the zombie princess. Okay. Gunjar, what do you make of this? You know, Kiganos gets bit. Morwenna is shocked and says, "I need some time."
I'm thinking that I was wise to stay away from the cage. You know, I think that Gunjar is going to leave the supernatural here to the priests and the mystics, and he's sizing up the guard. So he's been keeping kind of an eye on the guard, and I would like to use my soul move to size up the guard. My soul move is True Sight, and I believe it allows me to like kind of size up people, kind of measure their intentions.
So the easiest way to do that would, because I think what it says, it grants you a clear impression of the target's current emotional state or intentions. So this requires you to pay. So you will roll plus soul minus the debt you currently owe your gods. And at the minute you don't owe your gods anything.
Oh, I owe my ancestors something.
You owe the people you lost, but you don't owe
it's good. I also think I don't think I have a bonus either way on soul, if I remember correctly. And I'm not the best at. That's why I like these games, because they don't have a ton of bookkeeping, because I'm so bad at bookkeeping. Oh man, just confirm for me. I'm pretty sure my soul.
Your soul is 0. You're right.
Okay. All right. I was just recalling. Cool. So I just roll 1d6.
You roll 2d6 and add nothing to it.
All right. Sweet. Here we go.
I think you were using the blue ones last week.
Yep. I'm gonna. Let's see here. Delete my old ones. Oh, I deleted. I'm sorry. I'm just still getting used to everything here, since I am a newbie to
no problem.
A lot of this. All right, so those are showing as deleted now. All right, woohoo! All right. Well, looks like we're all green ones, but I got a 4 to 5, so 9. Not too bad. Huh?
So 9 is on 7+, your gods grant you a clear impression of the target's current emotional state or intention. And I think what you will see, I think what he looks nervous. He looks nervous to have been left with the demon and you alone. Because you defeated the leader of his mercenary band, Martulio, in that wrestling match. And so I think he's frightened of you, and he's nervous of the demon, and he wishes he wasn't on his own. I think he probably feels vulnerable, is summing that up.
Is there any way to know, and forgive me if I don't have the right to ask this question, but is there any way to know whether he believes that the man in the cage is a real demon or not? Or
let's tie up that move by just then finishing off, which is the cost that you pay whenever you activate your soul move. You now do owe your gods a debt. So you go down to your gods, you owe them, and you would select a -1 for the you owe them.
Forgive. Yes, you owe them a -1. I'm racking up debts here. I don't think anybody. Oh, Aelfwyn owes me something, but mostly I owe other people.
And I'm sure they won't call those in.
Sure.
I think I will. I think I will tell you that the fear that he shows towards the demon suggests that he does believe that there's more in that cage than an old man. Is that good enough?
That's good. That's good.
Kikanos, what do you do?
Well, you know, I've got me some problems. I still don't have, let's see, a very good way to. I'm both angry at this band, but I'm trying to master it, basically. So I'm looking over to see, like, what I want to do is kind of like try something similar to what I was trying, but like even stronger. So like the equivalent of trying to help someone by like clobbering them, or when you shake a vending machine very hard to get the thing you're entitled to, but for undemoning someone.
So you're going to hit the side of God to try to make him spit out a miracle.
Well, more this guy, right? I'm more mad at this guy than at God. Yeah, I'm a medium.
Well, you could open the cage and just give him a good shake.
A really, really solid idea there. Let's see.
That seems like something that Gunjar might have done.
I think it is possible I want to use power here.
How can it go wrong? It just costs you more
that's
debt.
what got me into this mess. But yeah, so I think that's the most reasonable thing to try here. And at this point,
what effect are you seeking?
I'm trying to banish it, right? Like at first I was trying to, I'll hang on to this for study. It will be helpful. We'll fully solve the problem, but I just want it out of here.
I think that you tried to banish it or draw it out into that knife.
Exactly. So previously I was trying to hang on to it. Now I just want it, pow, like the equivalent of defenestrating it.
Okay. Now bear in mind that the banish would work for the rest of this scene.
Sounds good.
Okay, go for it.
All right.
You will roll plus soul minus the debt you currently owe God, which I think is 1.
Yeah, let me double check that. Yep, that's right. So rolling at a +1 overall. All right. And that's a 10.
So maybe God was listening. Owe God another debt.
All right.
You get to pay, or you could pay it with blood. It's not a terribly Christian thing to do, but it's open to you.
I think you know. Well, can I pay it? Does it have to be a deliberate sacrifice, or can I kind of like slam my bitten hand up against the bars as I kind of do this invocation in a way that causes the damage?
That's fine.
All right.
What you do then is you would mark wounded, the first wounded box. So you mark wounded, and it works like a charm this time. And the old man begins to shake. It's like he's fitting, and then he collapses.
And I think I say, like, the evil spirit is gone from this place, but we have done more than your patron requested. We have also saved the man that was its prisoner. And then I gesture to you, Gunjar, in a way that kind of looks, hopefully, to the guard like confident and expansive, like he is now safe to release. But what I mean is, I would rather Gunjar be next to the door.
So is that a request for Gunjar to open the door of the cage?
Yep.
Okay. Oh, all right.
Are you inclined to do that, Gunjar?
I don't think that Gunjar is inclined to do that, honestly. He does not like this faffing about with.
Now, there is a way to convince another player.
I have
character to do
I
something.
he owes me a debt. Yeah.
Mm.
So, Alan, can you walk me through how PCs do this with each other? It's my first time.
So there is a move to convince non-player characters, but there is no move to convince a player character. However, if you call in a debt, you can demand of Gunjar that he does something else specific, and he would roll with advantage to do it. So if something went horribly wrong, he would be starting with advantage because he was doing the honorable thing. If he refuses that, then if you check out the moves tab, there's a thing then that says refuse to honor a debt. So Gunjar can refuse by rolling plus subtle, and depending on how that goes, he could be faced with a problem, or he could give in and say, "Okay, I'll do it."
Yeah,
So,
I think my priest says, like, gestures again kind of more emphatically and goes like, Gunjar, your strength was given to you by God for such tasks as this. And then I'm looking at my debt info, right? And it's and not, I say kind of more sotto voce, for persecuting the innocent. And then, like, thinking over that time I stopped from murdering Morwenna, I go like, the semi-innocent, like, pause again, those who ought to be redeemed before their deaths, and thus killing them now would be a poor idea. Call it in the debt.
what do you do, Gunjar? Do you bow to that and remove the debt that you owe to Kiganos, or do you hold your ground?
I'm going to let the debt be paid, but I'm not going to grumble about it though.
Oh, yeah, grumbling is allowed. And so you
Damn priests! Whatever happens is on you.
So that there are no locks at this time. So the gate of the cage is tied tightly shut with a piece of rope. Do you waste time trying to untie it, or just cut it, Gunjar?
Can I? Okay, so the guard. Can I ask? Is the guard armed?
Spear and shield.
Okay. Can I demand that the guard give me his spear?
You can try to convince him.
Yeah. Well, he seems uncomfortable and fearful, so I'm going to intimidate him into giving me his weapon.
There is a kind of intimidation move for the hammer, but I don't think you've taken that one. You haven't got, so you're using a straightforward convince someone to do something. I think the leverage you have here is that he is nervous. He's nervous of you and he's nervous of the demon. And so roll plus subtle to convince.
Yep. All right. I'm going to. I think what I do is I just silently gesture. I don't even, he knows what I want. All right. So give me a moment, because again, bad at the. So I have a 1. Ah, cool. And then 2d6 plus 1, right? I'm gonna delete my other dice from earlier.
You don't have to delete them,
Oh, well, I get confused sometimes if I don't, or whatever that's worth. I'll just remember to delete them ahead of time. So a 7, total of 7.
Okay, on 7 to 9, they'll do it if you do something for them first or owe them a debt of honor.
Okay.
And he is quite pleased to have you in his debt.
Okay.
So you owe the prefect's guard a debt of honor.
Okay.
So add that to your character sheet.
What's one more debt? Trading one debt for another.
Sorry, say it again.
I said, just what's one more debt? I'm just trading one other, essentially here.
And then you have his spear.
Yep. All right. And again, here's the debts. You know what? I'll take care of that when it's that on my turn. I'll fill that into the worksheet. Okay.
But then
and
he sees what you're going to do. I think he thought you were going to kill him. And he kind of, don't open the cage.
I'm going to open the cage.
He runs around the corner. Go ahead, Gunjar.
All right. And when he says don't open the cage, I don't have to like listen to him because of the debt that I now owe.
No. Yeah, I don't expect you to. But
Okay.
he's gone to tell someone you're opening the cage.
Okay. Yeah. All right. I'm gonna have the spear in my right hand and open the cage with my left, and then leap backwards with both hands.
I think the old man thinks you're going to kill him, and so he cowers away. And when you step backwards and the gate is open, he kind of looks at the three of you as if to say, is this some kind of trick? And then he very tentatively, Kikanos, do you encourage him out? And so he kind of tentatively comes out, and then he runs.
I think Kikanos at least like yells after him, "You must be baptized! Seek out a different priest if necessary, but be baptized, my son."
And that's when the prefect, Martulio, and half a dozen of his guards come around the corner, seeing you have released the demon. What do you do, Aelfwyn? You know how these highfalutin people go.
Yeah, so I think I go up to Martulio and I say, well, we've solved your problem. We have banished the demon that had possessed this man. I think he's a little skittish right now, so he's run off, but we've solved your problem as requested.
And the prefect
Perfect.
is incandescent with he's speechless. I told you to kill the demon, not release it.
Yeah, and
It's gone. It's not going to hurt you again.
I kind of step forward with her to say, the demon itself has been dealt with, but the man was purified. Each of us, in some way, is choked by the demon's sin. But in some cases, that grasping claw acquires a tighter foothold than others. And then I'm rolling this into a convince. I'm like, but surely you as a wise man, understand this already and do not need my instruction, which is intended merely for your subordinates. But you, as a leader, master your own rage constantly to avoid giving demons space in your soul. And so this is me going for a convince.
I think
because to be mad at us would be to be demon touched. Let's see. Rolling plus subtle. What is my subtle? All right. A +1. +1 worked for me last time. It's snake eyes.
Take them. And the prefect's guard go to restrain you all. I think I'll probably go to Gunjar first on this one. What do you do, Gunjar, when the guards come at you?
Oh man. Oh yeah. How many are there?
Half a dozen?
Half a dozen. Oh gosh. This is. Can I?
Because I think they see you as the greater threat, so I think that probably.
That's true. I'm the one who is armed here. Oh gosh, is there any way I can do kind of any kind of acrobatic move to get on the other side of the guards towards the exit of this hole?
I mean, there's quite an open space. This is the middle of the settlement. It's at the back of the hall. It's outside. So there's, you could just run for it, Gunjar. You could follow the demon.
Yeah. I'm going to. Do I know where I know where we left our weapons, right?
Inside the hall. So you'd have to get past them, get into the hall, and get your weapons. But you will have been given those back when you left the hall.
Oh.
So that's not a problem.
Not a problem. Oh, so we're all armed again.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, in that case, I'll just attack the nearest guard. I'll just that spear that I had. So not the guard that gave me the spear, but the first guard that takes even one step toward us to obey that order. He's getting a spear just right in his throat.
Aelfwyn, what are you going to do when they act to take you prisoner? By the look of it.
So okay, so we do have our weapons.
You do
back. So if they're not moving quickly on us, I think for now I just want to kind of draw my what I have to remember what weapon I even picked. A sword, yes. Just draw my sword and kind of do the stand back kind of thing.
I think that they will be they're not going to just rush you, because I think they've seen Gunjar fight Martulio. And so they think you lot collectively have a reputation. So I think they're going to size you up. But one of them will go for Aelfwyn. Kiganos, what about the one who's coming towards you?
What's the right role for shame someone for attacking the priest? Peace of God. Peace of God is I'm relieving unhelpful emotions like I should capture this man.
So you're trying to convince him that this is not the right thing to do. Any of his anger or maybe fear of Martulio. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So I think I have my hands up, in a way that shows I have no weapons. My sleeves fall back, but it isn't, entirely a conciliatory or a surrendering gesture. So I have my hands up as though in prayer, and I say, a man who strikes at a priest strikes directly at God. I will not lift my hands to oppose you, but I cannot speak for his mysterious ways.
And so I think he's looking for, he's not certain what he's going to do. So I don't think he's going to attack you. So I think you've at least bought time with that. Let's go to Gunjar, where the other four are coming at Gunjar, because he is clearly the threat. So Gunjar, are you aiming to avoid them or hurt them?
Oh no, I've got 2 spears now, so no. Let's do this. Let's dance.
Okay, so you are rolling to fight. So roll plus savage.
Use my neck here as I read my character sheet. So 2d6 plus 2. Oh yes, and I have my sweet. Since I have my spear back, I think I get +1 from my spear. So 2d6 plus 3. All right, so give me one moment. And 7 to 10. 10 total.
10 is an interesting result. You have a choice. On 7+, you can do harm on them, but you have to accept that they will do some harm on you. So you get in and you mix it. Yeah? On a 10+, or if you don't want to mix it with them, you can instead do one of the things in the bullet points. So gain advantage can be passed to another PC. Force your foe to where you want them. Draw all danger and opposed to you, so that would take the pressure off Aelfwyn and off Kaganos. Spot a weak point and inflict more harm, or deflect their blows and take less harm. So first question, do you want to mix it with them and do harm to them?
Okay. I want to do whatever allows me to give advantage to Aelfwyn.
Then you can certainly do that. So describe what does that look like on screen that sees you managing to give Aelfwyn advantage against the one that's going to try and take her?
Gotcha. Now, am I also doing harm to this group, or I have to do it in a way that does no harm to the group of people that
No, I think what you're telling me is you're going to do harm to them, take a bit of harm, but you're also going to pass on some advantage to Aelfwyn because you've got a 10. So you have the penny in the
Absolutely. Okay, so I'm going to stab the closest one to me with the guard spear, or actually with my spear, with the fishing spear that I use. And then I'm going to use the guard spear that I have, and I'm going to throw that at the guard that was attacking Aelfwyn.
Fine. So your spear does 2 harm. Because they're not out in, they're not on a war footing, so they don't have any armor. So you do 2 points of harm, and that will take him out. So 1 of 4 is down. You are going to take some harm from his spear. Do you have some armor though, don't you?
I wasn't throwing it at Aelfwyn. I was throwing it.
No. You've got some armor.
Oh, I do have some armor. Sorry.
Yeah. So you need to mark one of the condition boxes. Yeah.
Got it. I
definitely box.
do. And now I had a condition marked where I was wearied from fighting the guy. Is that
you can get rid of that one? So just mark the wearied. I'd forgotten about that one.
Okay,
yeah,
so
you've had enough time.
Wearied again. Wearied twice in one day.
So one of them is taken out. You take you're a bit winded. Aelfwyn though has advantage when. What do you want to do with that advantage, Aelfwyn? You are muted.
Sorry. Okay, so I'd like to try doing something with my boundless vitality, and so I guess you have to tell me if this is like within the range of what this, what kinds of ways I can empower my body past its normal limits. So what I'm envisioning doing is like the sword that I've got out is just kind of like a feint, because I want to grab this guy's like cloak and kind of wrap it over his head almost like a burial shroud and push him into the cage.
I think that's fine. So for this, you will roll plus soul minus the debt that you currently owe your gods. And I think that is 0. So you're rolling plus soul.
Well, so I guess the question is, because on the character sheet, we've got your gods and who or what cursed you listed as separate things, but who or what cursed you for me is the Saxon gods.
Yeah, that's true.
So
yeah, they are the same thing.
Is that right. Sort of collapsed? Okay, so I get just a plus 2.
So go ahead.
Okay,
this can't go wrong.
And the advantage works, is that the roll 3?
Roll 3 dice, take the top 2.
Okay.
Absolutely nothing could go wrong now.
Okay, so the top 2 of those makes 9, plus 2 is 11.
So on 7 plus you succeed, and there is no counter to that. So so we see, and you just throw him using that boundless vitality. And I think there's I think that the Prefect and Martulio in the background take a step back because that is not what they expected from a Saxon princess. So
Can I ask
let's
one question? Just to tie up something here.
say
So
again.
if he grabs, oh, can I ask a question?
Go ahead.
So if he grabs him and throws him as I'm throwing the spear, where does that spear go?
Well, I think probably he ducked to avoid that spear, and it is and that's what gave Aelfwyn the additional advantage beyond this kind of enormous vitality to just throw him around like a rag doll. But that spear doesn't go anywhere interesting.
Okay, just checking that I had some kind of complication. Okay, thank you.
Kiganus. He's as long as you keep talking, he will not jab you with that spear.
Yeah, I think I do keep talking. Is there a way I can kind of in our conversation? I'd like this guard's help or some advice about what we can do to de-escalate the situation and still get paid for the work that we've done.
I think that's above his pay grade.
That's fair.
If it was Martulio, there might be a conversation worth having. Yeah. By the way, have you owed your god a debt for that piece of god?
I did. That brought me up to 3.
Oh,
So,
which is after this, it gets interesting for me.
Exactly.
So round to Gunjar again. You've one of them's taken out. 3 of them are now circling you, Gunjar, because they've seen you do 2 things at once, which is a concern to them.
Okay.
What are you going to do?
Yeah, I'm just gonna keep fighting them. Yeah,
Fine.
I'm just in a berserker rage at this point. So, is
Okay.
the 3
So
that are fighting is one of the one that I owe a debt?
No, I think that's the one that Aelfwyn just threw into the cage, where I think he is probably content to stay at the minute, because he's struggling with the cloak, but not with any particular effort to get it off. I think because we know he's the most nervous. So Gunjar, roll 2 dice plus your plus 3, 2 for savage, 1 for the favored weapon.
Yeah. And now I have an advantage, whatever that means. But I think I'm gonna be fine. Submit. All right, so 8 total.
8 total. Okay, so on an 8, you get to exchange harm, or you can choose one of the options from the list. You don't get both of them this time.
Okay, I'm just going to exchange harm.
Fine. Well, we know that you can take one out with that spear, but we know equally that they're going to do 1 harm on you. So that's a second one down, 2 to go, but you have to mark another box of condition.
Got it. I'm now lightly wounded.
Aelfwyn,
Good.
there is nothing between you and the prefect apart from Martulio. Just saying.
So I think that I want to walk up to the prefect in a way that I'm like very obviously acting like Martulio doesn't even matter, and walk straight for the prefect, and demand that he tell his men to stand down, because we seem to be kicking their asses right now.
I think that is convincing him, isn't it?
That sounds like it.
But I'm going to let you roll with advantage because I think at the minute you are kicking their asses.
Okay. All right. So convince someone is with subtle, and my subtle is 1. Okay. Okay, but you said advantage?
Exactly.
All right. It didn't matter. They're all 4s.
Somehow that ought to be worth more.
So that's a 9.
So they'll do it for something if you do something for the first, or owe them a debt of honor. I think that the prefect will say to Aelfwyn, only if you leave my town immediately.
Okay. So
And
yeah,
bring me that demon.
I think Aelfwyn thinks that's a reasonable deal. So I think she turns specifically to Gunjar and says, like, Gunjar, let him go. We got to get on the road here.
Gunjar, what are you going to do?
I'm gonna resist that. I don't feel like Gunjar likes the terms of that deal, and there's only 2 left.
Yeah, and we didn't even agree to get
And
he's
he's in berserker mode now. I don't know that there's any stopping this train at this point.
Aelfwyn, do you want to call in a debt
Okay.
to put some pressure on him?
do it. We
Remind
have
him of how he should do what you say?
Yeah, I think I'll call in that debt.
So Gunjar, you can buckle to that and reluctantly stand down, or you can try to stand strong in the face of that debt of honor. What's your choice?
Yeah, I'm not buckling twice in one day.
So what you now need to do is to roll plus subtle to rebut this demand. And we all know what a great. Actually, you're not a bad talker, I have to say.
Yeah.
So you roll plus
not.
1.
Yep, we're working on it.
Okay, and since Gunjar resisted, the debt stays on the books, and I still have that, right?
Well, let's see how it goes, because I think I'm seeing Gunjar rolling a 6 plus 1 is a 7. So on a 7 to 9, Gunjar, you can either choose to honor the debt despite your better judgment, or increase the debt by 1. Oh, you are muted. You're muted, Kyle.
Oh, yeah, there we go. Yeah, I'll do something for you later, but yeah, no, I'm happy to increase the debt, but like I said, not today. Like this whole trying to like cow me into submission twice in one day. It's just not fun.
Okay, so make the debt up, and Gunjar, roll to fight.
Right. Back to roll for my party. On. There we go. All right, 10.
So you can exchange harm, and you could gain advantage or something else, or you could have 2 of the bullet points.
So I believe I've taken the wounds. I already have advantage. So I'm just gonna keep exchanging them.
Oh,
Yeah.
you should re-roll that 3 on the dice. I was forgetting about your condition. You get advantage when you're harmed.
So the 3. Okay, one moment.
If you highlight that and re-roll selected. Oh, okay.
There we go. This will work too. Yeah. All right, so that takes me up to a 12.
Now, because on a 12, you get a whole new list of stuff.
Ah, sweet.
Including your fury drives your foe from the scene.
That sounds good.
So exchange harm and do that?
Yeah.
Or you
that
just
works.
want to frighten the poor bastards off?
You know, can I leave that up to you? I think you know what? I'll just finish both of them off. Maybe it's fun, but it's no use.
So
at this point.
exchange
After
harm,
all
you take another, you mark condition, another box of condition, because we know one of those spear points is going to graze you. You take, there's only one survivor, and that's when Martulio calls, "Fall back on the prefect," and they retreat. Martulio and the survivor, the others crawling away, retreat around the corner of the hall, leaving the field to Gunjar. And Martulio looks at Aelfwyn and he says, "If I ever see your face again, woman, I will carve it from your skull."
I'm going to step forward in defense of her here, and say, you brought us here to deal with one demon, but it's clear that your land is sicklied over with your unjust rage, and I gestured the bodies, given flesh today as you spent your men's life to persecute your rescuers. Pay us for the work that we have done, and then render an additional sum to the church as tithe in penance. And I want to convince him of this.
You can try. That's quite a big ask you put there.
I mean, if he just pays us, that would be okay. I can tithe some of it. But, it is a reason he should do what I say. And we did kill a lot of his guys.
You did. Right.
Some kind of judgment was rendered. All right. That would be an 11.
They will agree or tell you why they will never do it. And the prefect will never do it because he doesn't believe in your God. Aelfwyn, you will see other members of the town garrison beginning to move from the gates and the walls towards the prefect's hall. This could continue to get ugly, Aelfwyn.
Yeah, I think that I turn to my two companions here and I say, okay, I think we've made our point, and I think we have a demon to catch. And kind of gesture to them like, come on, let's go, towards the nearest exit.
And unless anybody wants to do something, in that kind of montage of you making your way around the back of the huts to get to the gate, which is now deserted because the warriors on the gate have headed towards the emergency that's been called in the center of the settlement. Then I think we'll have you disappearing over the brow of a hill, leaving Danum behind you.
Okay. I think if he wants me to do that, I think I get to reduce one of my debts to him.
Say that again?
So I feel like he's still trying to get me to do the same thing he was doing earlier. So I think I could do this, but it's going to cost him one of the debts that I owe him.
It doesn't look like Gunjar wants to leave, Aelfwyn.
I mean, I'm happy to spend that debt if it'll get you to leave. Because I don't really want to stand here and kill this entire settlement.
Gotcha. I just don't want to. I'm trying to save face.
And Gunjar calms himself down. You've stopped him killing innocent civilians before. So over the brow of the hill and away you go. Kiganos, I think it's fair to say that what you've learned is whatever that thing is, it is not going to be banishable by normal means. You are going to need some kind of spiritual backup.
Yeah, that seems fair. Do you think I have a read on whether it's likely to pursue the same vessel again, or we're going to need to look to kind of set a trap or otherwise track it down again?
I think you're probably going to have to track it down again.
That's honestly a relief. The poor guy.
I obviously went to go get baptized for your advice. We know exactly where it's headed.
So, yeah, I don't think I can have that poor old man continue to be the frightened pawn of the dark gods perpetually. So yeah, I think you need to track down where it's gone rather than where he's gone.
Or set a trap.
Or set a trap. By staking out some weak-willed innocent. Yeah. So most of the effects that you can manage with your miracles, Kiganos, last a scene. So you are going to need something more potent than that to disperse this thing. Yeah. And I'm very happy for you to tell me or for us to discuss what that might look like. But for now, I think I'm going to cut to you several miles away from Danum, sat around a campfire, wondering what to do next. Yeah. So what do we see around the campfire, Aelfwyn? What is the most notable thing about this campsite?
So I think the most notable thing is that we have a surprisingly nice tent. Like, we are not just roughing it in the wilderness. And so I don't know if it's too much for us to have like a pony to carry stuff or something, but I've found some way to
sadly,
bring.
The beast of burden is a move for the commoner.
Okay, it is a mechanical. Okay, so we don't have that, but I have dragged along this very nice tent because I'm not going to stoop to like sleeping under a pile of leaves in a ditch somewhere.
And that personal one princess tent is indeed dry and warm. Kiganos and Gunjar are not quite as well off. They have to do with a blanket. So what's the nature of the conversation? What do we see as we come through this bit of woodland? There's a stream for water, and there is the camp. What do we see at the campsite? Who's talking to who?
I think Kiganos is saying, to the others, well, I think that poor, feeble, and like looks at his hand like surprisingly strong old man is safe for the moment. The creature that preyed on him will be looking for other victims. And then he kind of like weighs it further and goes, of course, the whole land is riven by threats, and we did promise to leave, so perhaps it would be prudent to simply wait to be invited back if the problem persists, and offer our services to other, less murderous patrons. And then he says reassuringly, of course I will pray for the prefect to be healed of the sin of wrath, no matter what.
What do we think?
I'm like skinning a rabbit just right in front of you with my knife. Making dinner like you do. And I just say, you might have promised, I didn't.
Yeah, I think I say I'm not sure wrath is the real problem here. I mean, it was more that he backed out of the deal because we did get rid of the problem in his settlement. But I do worry that thing will come back somewhere else. I'd kind of like to finish the job.
How?
That's a good question. Yeah, Kiganos, do you know anything about tracking demons?
Yes, Kiganos kind of looks into the distance for a moment and says, well, they always look for the weak who seek a kind of unworthy strength, those who prefer to be strong by any means, no matter who is hurt, rather than admit their fundamental weakness. And then he kind of like sighs and goes, in this land, there are many such people, so it is always hard to figure out where or how or who is most likely to succumb. Can I use look around to kind of think about where we might look for a possible victim?
You certainly can. So look about you when you can look around the scene and consider the risks, opportunities, or clues. Roll plus sense.
Right. Yeah. So he's just reflecting on the places we've traveled and where we might go next. And he says, from my travels in this area, I do think dice roll. That's an 8. So let's see.
So you hold one to ask me a question about the location situation, someone or something in the scene, what might have happened might happen, or choose to add a detail to the scene that enriches the fiction, or ask the GM to do so.
Yeah, I think I want to ask about what might happen. And Kikanos kind of speculatively says, like, if there were anyone who has recently suffered some kind of setback or humiliation, the kind that might have spread as a rumor, might be the kind of person looking for power at any cost. Is there anyone, who's been recently humiliated or set back in that way who might be a target?
2 candidates come immediately to mind: Martulio and the Prefect.
So, of course, I and Saganos kind of walked into that without thinking it over.
What can I say? They are 2 obvious candidates.
They are those men.
While you're contemplating that, should we take a 5-minute break? Back in 5. I feel really sorry for Aelfwyn. I think Aelfwyn achieved the best that could be hoped for in that circumstance, and it all went up in flames so quickly.
I feel
That's
like our
kind of the story of her
Monster
life.
Hunters are terrible.
Sorry, say that again, Leah.
We must have the worst Yelp reviews of Monster Hunters, and we're preserved only by the fact that it's hard to spread word efficiently not to hire us.
Yeah, I keep.
Yeah, when you have to like write your Yelp review on a piece of parchment and like tack it to the city wall.
Yeah, scattered through forests, little bits of parchment. Monster Hunters Inc. So yeah, I think the challenge for Kiganus is, even if that's his best bet about where it might choose to reside, how does he get rid of it?
There are a lot of challenges here, honestly. Like, how do we effectively kidnap the people who are in charge of the area, who are already mad at us and don't want to see us?
Without even knowing for certain that's where the demon is. Complicated. I think Kiganus probably does know where he might find some holy relic that might give him the necessary, power.
Yeah, I'm pro more power here. What about a holy horseshoe from the steed of St. George?
Now, strange you should say that, because there is a holy horseshoe from the steed of St. George in the vicinity, or at least there was before the monastery was burned down. So, Gunjar, you've been skinning your rabbit and you've eaten the rabbit, and I think Kiganus has come to the conclusion that the obvious place to look for someone rife for demonic possession is Martulio or the Prefect. But the challenge is that even if you found the demon, you have no way to destroy it. However, Kiganus does know that the Holy Horseshoe of St. George was located at a monastery in the vicinity, which sadly was burned down and the priests there massacred some little time ago. And I think that thought, Aelfwyn, you put two and two together, that this is indeed the monastery that I suppose technically still your husband, raided and destroyed.
Yeah. So do I recall any holy horseshoes among the loot?
To be honest, most of the interest around the loot was, silver and gold chalices and crosses. Horseshoes didn't seem to be high on the collection list.
Okay. So it's probably still there, perhaps buried under fallen parts of the walls and that kind of thing, possibly.
So we cut the door.
I feel like I visited the monastery before it was closed, and I was trying to become a postulant there. So if we go to the ruins, I may be able to at least lead us to where it was.
It was in a box under the altar in the church itself. That's where the relics were held, and it was the most potent of all the relics. So is that what we're doing then? Is that the plan? What was that monastery called, Kiganus?
The Brotherhood of Saint Anselm.
Fine. And at some point, Aelfwyn, I'm going to need a name for your husband, I think, given where this turn is taking us.
Yeah. So I think I saw Ulrich on the list of Saxon names, so let's go with that.
Fine. So, how far away? Say again, Gunjar?
I'm just making a dumb joke about
sorry. So, Kiganos, is this days away or weeks away?
Days away.
Okay. Are you avoiding villages, or are you looking for villages to spend the night, Aelfwyn?
Well, you have your glamping.
Yeah,
The
but
rest of us might appreciate a night off the ground.
I mean, I think I personally prefer to avoid like small villages where, you know, we'd end up sleeping in somebody's barn or something. But if it's like a decent sized village with some sort of, you know, minor nobility that we could persuade to offer us hospitality for the night, I'm all for that.
Okay, let's assume that about half a day or a day away is all villages have somebody in charge of them, and so let's place you at a village. You're approaching this village, round huts, a not very complete palisade that looks like it's more about keeping cows in than enemies out. Is this good enough, Aelfwyn, for you?
I think I'll approach one of the people here. You know, just find somebody on the street and ask them who the lord of this place is. What's that?
The street.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, Danum has 3 streets.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's quite a big deal.
Yeah.
So most of these villages are pretty small and pretty meager, but go for it.
Yeah, so I'll approach somebody and ask them who the lord of this place is.
Cerric is our head man, madam.
And where is his hall?
He steps with his hall. Oh, his hall. Yes. Oh, let me take you, madam. And he bows to the priest, and he kind of veers away from Gunjar, and he'll take you to the largest hut, where a woman is cooking, and a man is just grinding some corn, I think, in a hand mortar. And he looks up and he sees you coming. He says, "Oh, madam, what can I do for you?"
You're the lord of this village?
"Oh, lord is too grand a word for me, madam. I am the head man here."
We're just travelers passing through, and we're hoping we might prevail upon your hospitality for the night.
Oh, I absolutely.
Who do I have to kill to get something to eat around here?
I kind of shush Gunjar with one hand.
Oh, of course, madam. And he shushes his wife out the way, and please come in.
Yeah, and I feel like this is one of these scenes where, like, as it goes, I'm regretting more and more, like, that we decided to do this, but we're also like, it would be kind of, you know, rude to like ask for hospitality and then be like, nah, not good enough, and leave. So I'm like, all right, I guess we're.
Yeah, but I do notice that you work under a burden of pride, Aelfwyn. You are compelled to distract those around you with claims of your superiority until there's a consequence for you. I'm just wondering whether you have that degree of politeness in you at this point.
Probably not.
It's been a long day of traveling. You must be tired and your nerves strained.
You can resist being rude to this man,
mhm.
and by extension, his village, by facing danger. It's not really well titled for this purpose, but you get the
Yeah.
drift.
Yeah, let's do that.
Which is roll
Okay.
plus steel.
Steel. My steel
It's like
is
skewing
0.
into like pride and prejudices. Blah.
Sorry, say again, Gunjar?
Pride and prejudice. So this is skewing into like a pride and prejudice type of
Yeah.
situation.
All right, I got a 7 there.
So on a 7, gives you a worse outcome, a hard choice, or a price to pay. I think that they put up with your rudeness, but the food is particularly meager and poor. And it's begrudgingly given as your continual grating on really a wooden bowl,
Mhm.
really the smoky
And this is
fire.
like, I know they've got better food than this. Like I could tell they've got better than what they're giving me.
But I think
food is meager and poor.
and I think that the consequence is, Aelfwyn, that you are wearied the following morning, because this is worse than the tent.
Mhm.
Yeah, so Mark wearied, and then we've dealt with the consequence of your pride.
Mhm.
And so it continues on your several-day journey to the site of the monastery? Or Aelfwyn, are you prepared to put up with the tent?
Let me ask just for a second, since Gunjar and I weren't complaining the whole time. Is it fair to say we got a good night's rest?
I was complaining a little.
Is it fair to say we got a good night's rest with our wounds bound and can clear our wounded?
Well, I was going to ask whether anybody wants to check out Gunjar, because Gunjar has 2 wounds marked. One of those will recover overnight, having been bound up. So Gunjar will automatically get one back, because I think you're right. They are nicer to the priest and nicer to the common soldier than they are to the hoity-toity princess. So Gunjar can unmark one of those wounded, and so can Kiganos. And so I'm Aelfwyn. This is the question: do you now put up with the tent, or do you look for better?
I think I am now motivated to try to look for be more discerning in which villages we choose to approach, but be very motivated to find a better village. Because my pride's been a little wounded by having to stay in this hovel, and I want to kind of get it back by going to a place with a proper hall to sleep in, if we can find anything along the way.
Well, I think the closest I can come to that is to ask you to look about you and find out from people in the villages that you pass through, which are not up to standard, where there might be a better place to stay.
Mm. Yeah, as long as it doesn't take us too far out of our direction we're going towards.
No, it's probably going to add
monastery.
a day, but what's a day when there's a possibility of some kind of bed?
I think Kiganos expresses himself in a long-winded speech that winds up both expressing that it would be wrong to go a day out of our journey because every bad night's sleep is storing up treasure in heaven against for the purgation of your sins. However, he kind of, while giving this semi-inspiring, semi-homily, keeps thinking about adding a day to the journey delays when they might be expected to go back and exercise the prefect, and kind of goes of course there are many kinds of suffering and we are to do all things for God, so can we not offer comfort for him And perhaps this is an interesting point, Aelfwyn, that you are making in your desire to visit others of every station, having done one. So he's ultimately on board for this, but for stupid reasons.
I'm getting a feel for Kiganos. I'm interested whether once we've dealt with whether you can find somewhere better to sleep, I'm interested in seeing the characters interact. I'm curious to just see a bit of downtime between you. But Aelfwyn, let's see how that look about you goes.
Okay. So that is roll with sense, which I think I have a -1. Yep. I got a 7.
Is that a 7 with the -1 or before?
Oh no,
the
that's
-1?
right. That's a 7 before the -1, so it's a 6.
So I hope
Thank
that
you
with
for the
these
reminder.
fails, you're all marking experience, which is never a bad thing. There is the nearest place, says one of the commoners that you meet on the road. The greatest lord in the area with a good bed is the Lord Ulrich.
Yes. Not saying this out loud, but I'm like, yes, I know he has a very nice bed.
So that's the only option on the table other than canvas.
Do it. Maybe he knows about the horseshoe.
Yeah, I mean, that's...
Mysterious hooded Saxon lady appears.
How about we go to the monastery first? And if we can't find the horseshoe, maybe we can ask Ulrich if he knows what happened to it.
Yeah, his dead wife asking him that is not going to be a problem at all. So yeah,
that's why I'm trying to like avoid it. But...
I mean, I am inclined on the hoof to invent the rule that I lift from Hearts of Wulin, which is that a disguise is perfect until it isn't.
Mm-hmm.
So I am perfectly happy for Aelfwyn to face danger if there's a chance of her disguise being rumbled.
Yeah, I mean, actually,
when the time comes.
I mean, I was thinking that like if we need to get this information from him, because like he's not just going to like random person shows up and says, "Hey, where's the holy horseshoe?" And he, we know that he, at the very least is indifferent to, possibly has, bad feelings towards Christians. So I think I'm actually more likely to get information out of him by being like, "Yo, dude, I'm your zombie wife back from the dead. You can't kill me, so tell me where this horseshoe is."
Yeah, that's a new spin on Macbeth.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll cross that bridge. So I'm going to cut. Well, I'd like to see whether you want to spend some time interacting in pairs. Is there a scene that one of you wants to have with one of the other characters? I'm not twisting your arm. I just want to give you that space.
The only thing I had in mind was just, when they were talking earlier about tracking the demon, I just feel like I just spit out a bit of blood from the tooth I cracked in the battle, and I'd say, "Let's avoid tracking demons unless you plan to eat them. I'd rather track things that I could eat."
I'm sure Kiganos has a theological response to that.
Oh yeah, Kiganos says, we certainly would not want to eat demons. We do not want them to become part of us. Destroying them, Gunjar, absolutely right, but you're correct. Demons are not for eating. Kiganos is, I think, as Gunjar leans into his persona more, like taking a very careful catechetical approach. We eat the body and blood of Christ offered for us to strengthen us, but No matter how strong a demon is, eating it will not make us stronger, and we can never benefit by incorporating evil into ourselves.
Perhaps, how do you know that when I eat a demon, it does not become something else? Something better?
Gunjar, do you really think that you, as you are with all your strength, are not superior to a demon? Now, if you eat a demon, you are incorporating what is inferior into yourself. It would be less Gunjar. Surely you do not think that would be good.
And that is exactly why I do not take your communion.
That puts Kiganos in his place. Aelfwyn, do we want to see any conversation between Aelfwyn and one of the other characters? Okay, then let's cut to you emerging from some woodland, in the looking out over the river valley where the monastery once stood. It was mostly wooden, so most of it has burned and fallen in itself. The church was stone with a thatched roof, so you can see the charred stones. You can see the burial ground where where priests had been buried for the generation it had been here. What look does the audience see on Kiganos's face when Kiganos sees this for the first time in several years?
Yeah, I think there's almost, even though it's troubling in some ways, there's almost a youthfulness to his face, as though some of the lines of travel fall away as he remembers what it was like to be a younger man and how different his life might have been.
And what do we see cross Aelfwyn's face? Because this might be I think this probably is the first time Aelfwyn has seen the consequences of that raid.
Yeah, I think she, up until this point, she's been kind of avoiding the whole situation. So yeah, I think this is the first time she's seen it. And so I think at first she's kind of like, this is no big deal, because she's seen villages that have gotten sacked before. She's seen ruins, she's seen, buildings burned down and stuff, and that's just part of the Saxon life, and she doesn't have any special care for things of the Christian faith that would particularly bother her. But I think as she's looking at this, she notices there's the remains of one of the priests who clearly was stabbed in the back as he was running out a side door of something, and she recognizes that, and it all kind of comes back to her about what really happened here, and she's like, oh, ugh.
And I think the Saxon gods will ensure that as we cut to you making your way through this overgrown, it looks a lot like a village, but these collapsed, burned out huts, the skull with the spearhead still through the back of it, pinning it to the ground. I think that we'll see those flashbacks of what Aelfwyn is imagining happened here. And cut to these Saxon warriors sweeping through, and then back to the piece of, and then
I'm imagining voiceovers of Ulrich and his men talking about what they're gonna do over the image of it happening.
Spot on. Where do you go, Kiganos?
Well, we're just heading in. I think Kiganos is following Aelfwyn's lead here, says this is more her milieu than his.
And I think Aelfwyn is walking, is circuitously walking around all the ruins, the collapsed, burnt beams. almost in a fugue.
Yeah, then I think Kiganos goes like, well, what troubles you, sister? You seem less full of life. And then he like stopped himself, realizing this was dumb, and goes like, less vigor, no, less peaceful, less. You seem troubled.
So I guess this is where the question arises of how much of my backstory have I told you to?
I say go with slightly less so that you can reveal things at a
Yeah.
moment of maximum drama now.
Yeah. So I think I'm actually, I'm going to not give the full story. I think I'm just going to say that, I'm gonna point out a couple of the examples of like, the guy stabbed in the back and stuff, and just say that there was this wasn't a battle, this was a slaughter, and that goes beyond even what the Saxon gods would approve of. It's like, I know you're a servant of a god of peace, and you probably find any kind of killing objectionable, but this goes beyond even what my gods would permit. And I think I'd leave it at that. I don't fill in the other bit, because I think that gets more interesting once if we have to go to Ulrich's village to pull the rest of that out.
Gunjar,
I was gonna say, I think she does seem though troubled in a way that goes beyond just piety, and I think I want to look about me to try and like push her a little bit to open up.
Then look about or convince.
I can convince.
You could call in a debt here, because because there is a debt between you around a monastery burning.
Yes.
What I think you don't know is the detail of the circumstances behind that. So you could call in a debt to try and squeeze Aelfwyn.
Why not? I'll call in the debt and say, my sister, although I cannot hear a confession from you unless, like he looks always like kind of enterprising, like you might be willing to be baptized. You still can speak to me, and I will pray for you. And I hesitate to say, but you have not struck me as an especially pious woman that you would be so upset simply on your God's behalf. What is it that has lodged so close to your heart? All right.
I'm going to try to resist that debt getting called in. So
fine. Okay. So roll plus subtle to resist.
Subtle minus debt owed. So my subtle is 1, so that puts me at just a flat roll there. And I got a 10.
Which convinces Kaganos that now is not the right time to push that debt. That's rather neat. And so there is the remains of the church. The thatched roof has burned, the beams have fallen in, but the stone wall is still there. And there's quite an attractively carved arch leading into the church. So who's going in? And that's when the dark gods call in a debt. Do not cross this threshold, priest. Because I think it's in their interest that you don't.
Yeah, but they're scummy fake gods. Let's see.
So they are calling in the debt they hold over you.
Well, yeah, I think he kind of pauses at the threshold, but I can erase this debt if I honor it. Yes,
you can.
And says, pauses and then says, like, it looks like the fire may have slightly structurally compromise the building. And then he turns to Gunjar and goes like, the horseshoe should be directly under the altar stone. And I think your strength would serve you best just to navigate the damaged church. Your fine instincts for combat will surely leave you superior to a few blocks of masonry.
And that, I think, is probably enough to erase the debt you owe to the old dark gods. Gunjar, that's what Kiganis wants you to do. What do you do?
You treat me like I'm your mule. I'm not one of your parishioners. But alas, if that is what we need, I would also say to Aelfwyn, I think you may be surprised what your gods care about and what they do not care about. Thinking of course, his childhood home flooded. I'll go ahead and acquiesce to the requests and do what needs doing.
Aelfwyn, do you follow into this Christian consecrated ground or not?
I think that if Gunjar's gonna go, I'm gonna hang back unless he clearly needs some help.
I mean, it's not a vast building. It's Cal, can you mute? Because I think I'm getting feedback. This is 30 paces by 20 paces. This is not some vast cathedral. So you can see him inside. The roof has fallen in. The light is it's not dark in there. And we'll see Gunjar picking his way through the rubble and the debris and the bones, the scorched bones of the priests who took final refuge here. And there's a very simple altar, Gunjar, a great stone slab on what looks like some brickwork almost. It was probably decorated, but that plaster has flaked away in the flames. Gunjar, what do you do when someone taps you on the shoulder?
I think I elbow them in the nose reflexively.
And as you spin round, there's nobody there. What do you do?
I'll probably lose my balance. You're muted.
So I am. But it was like someone just touched your shoulder, but there's nobody there.
Okay, so maybe I'm not that dramatic, but I take a step back, and this is an interesting choice for me because I don't have. Honestly, I don't feel like Gunjar has a lot of faith in either one of his companions when it comes to dealing with supernatural things, other than perhaps Aelfwyn, since she
is a supernatural thing.
So I'm going to gesture for Aelfwyn and say, I think this may actually be more your speed. I'm going to take a few steps back and say, yeah, gesture. Like, you should go ahead, actually.
You didn't see anything apart from Gunjar spin round. Look surprised, Aelfwyn. What do you do?
I think I'm just gonna ask, what's wrong? What's in there?
Something otherworldly, not of this world.
Gunjar, the temperature in this place, it's a sunny afternoon. And while not a lot of direct sunlight is coming into this place, it's getting positively cold here, Gunjar.
I don't like that. I don't like that at all.
So what do you do?
So
I gesture for.
yeah, I think
mean-
at this point I'm like I didn't really want to have to go in there, but I also don't want to have to be in the monastery in general longer than we have to. So, and you know, being a supernatural being myself, I'm a little less, you know, frightened of such things. So yeah, I think I'm gonna stride in.
I did not say I was frightened.
It's okay, Gunjar.
As Aelfwyn crosses the threshold, it is like she's walked into a winter's day. Her breath begins to steam. It is cold, and there's a crusting of ice beginning to form on the debris in here. Kikanos, you can see this from outside. What do you do?
I think now I am going to look around to try and figure out, is there something poisoning this area spiritually that we can attack at its source?
So if you're asking me a kind of a supernatural question, you will need to use power, because look about you is a mundane look about you, unless you're the pagan mystic and you have otherworld.
Gotcha. Well, let me ask you another question, which is there anything I can do to kind of lower debt to my god as we go, or I just wait for you to call things in?
I'm afraid you wait for me to call things in.
Gotcha.
And I thought about that, but I think that this isn't a circumstance where I think that your god would call a debt in yet.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Well, then in that case, the only way for me to help is to mark it up to 4 then, right?
And the consequence of going above 3 is that in effect you hand me a hard move.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So do you want to use power, and if so, what effect are you thinking about?
Yeah, take a look. All right. Why don't I use power with the goal of observing another time the burning of this monastery to understand what spiritual pollution might have come and how it can be dispelled, just for maximum drama. All right, do I mark it to 4, or just it stays at 3 and you also
mark it to 4? And because I think it goes up to 6 for the debts to your god, because I can't imagine ever wanting to hold more than 3 hard moves on anybody. And then I'll just hold that. I'll put it on the shelf and come back to it shortly. So you are looking back, Gunjar. It is getting it. I see, and maybe your hand is on the altar behind you, and it is crisp with ice, and it you can see sparkles of frost in the air that are beginning to take some kind of coherent form. It seems to you, Aelfwyn, you will see that as well. Gunjar, what are you going to do?
I think I'm just transfixed. I don't think there's a lot that I feel that I can do. Now, I have a dozen guards are one thing.
Hang on, I'm getting stereo.
Ice through my eyes is quite another.
I want to ask Aelfwyn, because Aelfwyn, you're just walking, through the debris to get to him, and you are also seeing. Initially, you thought it was a trick of the light, the sunlight just going through the way it sometimes goes through smoke, and you see shapes in the smoke. But these are sparkling particles of ice in the air. What do you do, Aelfwyn? Gunjar is transfixed.
I actually would like to do a mundane look about you in the hopes that I can spot the horseshoe, grab it, get us out of here.
Fine. So let's have you roll to look about you. Roll plus sense.
Okay. And my sense is -1, so this may not go very well. But we shall see. Well, I got a 10, even with the -1 added in.
Well, will you look at that? So you have 2 questions about the location, situation, someone or something in the scene, what might have happened or might happen, and you can choose to add a detail to the scene that enriches the fiction or ask me to do so. While you're thinking about that, let's cut to Kiganos outside, casting that invocation, calling on God. Now, Kiganos, we've not really discussed what this looks like to the audience, but when you call on the power of God, what does it actually look like? Is it very kind of low key, or do we have any special effects at work?
I think it depends on the circumstances, right? But in this case, I think I'm going to hold on to my crucifix, which I received at this monastery originally. And that we see kind of his hand close around it. I'm looking back into the past. And then we kind of, camera zooms in, see kind of the dirt and the blood that's on his hand now vanishes. We see his younger hand holding it, almost like running backwards, taking it off, receiving it from someone else's hand. Now I'm rolling at significant disadvantage here because, prior to doing this, I'm going to have 3 debt. So I'm rolling at a minus, at a flat roll here.
You are.
All right. Let me delete these guys. And it turns out to be a 6. So unless someone helps me out, that'll be another miss.
I think that you take a wound. I think that God is getting pissed off at the call. So I'm going to reduce your debt from 4 to 3, and I'm going to apply a hard move here, which is to have you thrown back against the wall, bang your head. And that's when you see that shadowy figure emerge from one of the ruined huts with what looks like a spear. I'll come back to you in a moment. Aelfwyn, 2 questions.
Right. So, question number 1, where is the horseshoe?
Kiganos said it should be underneath the altar. So the altar is there, and I'm very happy for that to have you move to that place and look behind the altar.
Mm-hmm.
And what you will see is that a flagstone behind the altar has been levered up. Yeah, and there is a box in there, a very plain box. Is that good enough for one answer?
I think so. Yeah, if that's like that box draws my attention, like, all right, that's
do you want to ask me another question, or do you want to hold it?
So I think I want to ask, because there's all of that the sparkling in the air stuff. So I think I want to, if it can apply to that, since I know that's kind of supernatural, like, what is that?
I think that I can tell you that it's taking on a humanoid shape.
Mm-hmm.
There are 3 or 4 of these shapes, and I will tell you that they are forming above where you have seen the bones of the incinerated priests.
Okay.
I think that's a mundane look at it that leaves you to draw your own conclusions.
Okay.
Yeah,
no, I think that's fair.
Gunjar. Aelfwyn has gone round the back and says, "There's a box here.
Okay.
What are you going to do, Gunjar?"
I'm gonna go. I didn't need to say. The sooner we get out of here, the better. So I'm gonna move very quickly to see if I can wrench open the box. Maybe I jam the point of my. What's the box made out of? Yeah, what's the box made out of?
It's wood bound with iron.
Okay, I'm gonna jam the edge of the point of my spear into it and see if I can lever it open with my spear.
It flies open because the clasp, it looks like, has already been damaged, and it is empty. Kiganos, what do you do? Is that you're shaking your head after that blow, and this figure is coming at you with a spear. What are you going to do?
Well, with that miss, I took an advance. That advance was Fist of God. So I think I'm going to fight it.
Kiganos got kick ass. Fine. So you get to your feet, and it comes out of the sun at you. The setting sun is behind it. It comes at you and jabs at you.
I'm going to fight it with my bare hands, not in a very pretty way, but here we go.
So you roll to fight, so it's still savage, I'm afraid.
Yes, but it's hard to be Kiganos sometimes. He kind of feels a sense of that he maybe is being called to be a little more active here as he's rebuked by God. He throws down his staff and just like prepares to grapple with it mano a mano. It's a 6.
Kiganos cannot do any good today, so do mark experience. But you will take 2 points of harm as that spear slips through your hands and skins your side through your robe.
All right, and then just to check, that first hit of it is in wearied, then one more in wounded.
Yeah, always fill them up from top left, downwards and to the right. Aelfwyn, it's empty. And these incorporeal things are now grouped together between you and the way you came in here.
So I think I say to Gunjar, I think I know who must have it, but we got to get out of here first. And
you don't have to tell me twice.
So I have a move that lets me use convince someone on monsters as well as people. And so I'm trying to think if there's a plausible thing I could say to them to try to get them to let us out of here. Because I don't really want to have to. What's that?
That's what you need for this, is just some kind of leverage, some fictional positioning that gives, as you say, some reason.
Yeah, for them to let us out of here. So I'm trying to think what would be what would threatening spirits of dead people in their monastery want.
I wonder if they know that you are the wife of the man who sacked the monastery. I wonder if they know that you are the wife that could have stopped it.
Yeah, but that makes my position worse. If they're like, oh yeah, you didn't stop it. Unless, so just sort of thinking out loud here, because I have that ring that was taken from here. Could I offer to give the ring back to them as a promise that I will, as a queen with some resources potentially at my disposal, see to it that the monastery is repaired?
I think that's quite clever. Gunjar, they are closing on you. Aelfwyn is still behind the altar. You've joined her and you've demonstrated that the box is empty, but these things are coming towards you. What do you do, Gunjar? They're incorporeal. You could maybe run through them. I don't know.
Yeah, since they are incorporeal. I'm not too proud to flee. I'm not too proud to run. Yeah, I want nothing to do with this. So I say we need to go. We need to. You can stay if you want, but I'm checking out. There's a move for flight.
Face danger, I think, probably fits. If in doubt, face danger. Roll plus steal.
Got it.
I knew you had a -1 in something.
If I recall. Again, sorry, I'm just tabbing back to the appropriate tab. I remember that I am definitely -1, so 2d6 -1. Oh God. 2. Oh God. That's good. This is gonna be fun.
You're muted, Alan.
Sorry. What do we see, Gunjar? Are you just kind of leaping over the top of the altar and running for it? Are you going round the side? What do we see?
Yeah, well, I rolled a 2, so.
Well, you tell me what you wanted to do, and I'll tell you where it goes horribly wrong.
All right. Yeah. 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 I. Yeah. I think I do. I think I try to. I think I try to vault over the altar, like with my hand,
And that goes perfectly.
straight,
You vault over it,
the straightest line I can. Yep.
and you run for the door. But at the point you come closest to this manifestation, it lashes out and swings you across the room until you hit the wall, and you will take 2 points of harm to your condition track. One of those can be wearied if it's not yet marked.
Yep.
Aelfwyn, present the ring.
Mm-hmm.
Begone, foul creatures of the night.
I was thinking more the kind of pitch would be that, I know that Earl, or whatever his title is, Earl Ulrich, sacked your monastery, and when I've taken care of him, I will see to it that his wealth is put towards compensating you and rebuilding the place that he destroyed.
Roll to convince.
Okay. So I'm also going to use my uncanny appeal, so I get to roll plus soul instead of subtle for this. So I'm going to get a plus 3. So that's 8 on the dice and 11 when I add my soul.
And there's a kind of shimmering. Their attention of these things was drawn towards Gunjar, and now they're focused on you. What do you do with the ring to demonstrate your kind of that this is actually what you're doing? Because you've got it in your hand,
mm-hmm.
and you've offered it to them. So where are you going to put it? I think that's the only bit of the picture I need to finish this.
I think I put it in the box. Like, I pick up the box that Gunjar kind of knocked apart. I put it in the box and put the box on the remains of the altar.
And they begin to disperse. Keganos. This figure is jamming at you. What do you do?
Well, I feel like my options are pretty limited. Using power means rolling at a pretty big disadvantage. I can continue to try and fight, but there's nothing I'm particularly good at here.
Running away.
Running away.
Yeah, you might be better than I was.
Yeah. I think. Can I try and convince the spectral creature?
I said shadowy, but I go with spectral.
It seems.
Remember that convince someone.
Yeah.
So you can certainly try convince on the basis this is a mortal.
I think Keganos assumes he's being menaced by like a figure of the past sacking. So let's see. That's what he took from shadowy. Yeah, that it might. Let's see. Then I feel like he's still going to go with fighting here. but
Fine.
perhaps in a way that will clarify to the figure what Kaganos thinks is happening, so they
look,
can decide.
You can always use face danger to dodge, in effect, because you could avoid the risk of exchanging harm.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what I'm leaning towards, which is I think Kaganos, like perhaps from my misunderstanding a little bit what Shadowy meant here, thinks he's facing the soul of one of the raiders and has the opportunity to die alongside his brothers, right? So he's just going to go with fighting it barehanded.
Fist of God.
You horrific specter who laid to waste this monastery, face me, fail me, whatever you do to me, I do it for love of God, and attacks it with its bare hands. And if this isn't in fact the ghost of a raider, then at some point, whoever this poor guy is who's fighting an incompetent priest can tell him that.
Indeed.
That is a 7.
So on a 7, you can exchange harm, or you can simply do one of the things in the first set of bullet points.
All right, let's see what my options are. It's the first time I've successfully fought anyone.
Such is the power of the fist of God.
Yes. I'd say does deflect their blows and take -1 harm relative to what they would have done?
Exactly. Because it has to be a relevant one. So if you avoid exchanging harm, you could still do a point of harm, even if if you wanted to.
Stay safe myself, yeah.
I think force them where you want them to be.
Yeah, I think I want to force them to where I want them to be. I want this person to answer to me, either for their crimes as a ghost, or answer to me by explaining what they're doing here if they're not a ghost.
Now, if you'll go with me on the fiction, then I think as this spear comes in, you grab it and you spin the thing round, because it's been coming at you out of the sun. You spin him round and you push the spear up against his throat. Yeah, because it is a man. And that's when Aelfwyn...
I feel like that overestimates Kaganos a tiny bit. I think I just use the spear to knock him onto his back.
Okay. And that's when
spirit.
And that's when Aelfwyn and Gunjar run out of the church to see Kaganos standing over an ancient bald priest. A survivor rather than a raider. That might be a good point to take our second break. It's 8 past the hour now. Shall we say back here for 20 past the hour? Quarter past the hour? Is that okay? Quarter past the hour. See you then. Stentor, that clicked with me. Yeah, I think I mentioned last week, I've not been very happy with the end of session experience for the Revenant that says you addressed a challenge with fatalism. It suddenly dawned on me that the way the Revenant can get that EP is addressed a challenge with reference to your previous life.
Yeah, I like that.
I think that's got a bit more, I don't know, fictional heft to it.
Yeah, it makes you bring that stuff back in.
So, okay. And there's this priest cowering. Come, savage, I will kill you.
There you go. Get him.
Do I recognize him?
What was the name of the man who gave you the crucifix?
Let's go with Father. Looking at the names list. Let's just go with Father Ambrose, which is a reasonable name for a priest.
Kaganos, what are you waiting for? Finish him off.
Yeah. So I toss the spear down and like kneel and extend my hand, and then like even more than pulling him up, like clasp him in brotherhood and say, "Father Ambrose, I feared you had perished."
The reason he is a shrunken and ruined man, and there is madness in the single eye that remains to him, because half his face is disfigured with a burn mark. It looks like he's been branded around one side of his face, and it would be naive of me not to point out that that is in the shape of a horseshoe. And it's Kiganos, my boy. He survived having been tortured. Aelfwyn, you can share the bad news that the horseshoe is not in the church.
Yeah, so I think I come over to where Kiganos and Father Ambrose are embracing, and I say to Father Ambrose, Father, in a box on the altar, you'll find a ring. That ring is our promise that when we find the holy horseshoe, your monastery will be restored to you.
I think you just voluntarily entered into a debt with Father Ambrose there, Aelfwyn.
That sounds about right.
Whether it ends up being relevant or not, I think is a different question, but it's certainly hanging there. And yeah, he's been living here for several years, living on nuts and berries and just going quietly mad, I think. How do you comfort him, Kiganos? What do you talk to him about to try to bring back the old Ambrose?
I think I tell him a little about where I've traveled and my own struggles. So I relate to him like a spiritual father as I talk about kind of my failed exorcism. So that rather than treating him as a broken man, I'm deferring to him as an authority and trusting him in a way that no one else has done.
I think that's fine, and I think that begins to you can see in his remaining eye that the sparkle of madness begins to recede slightly. Gunjar, is this a safe place to spend the night?
Gunjar does not feel that this is a safe place to spend the night, and he is taken aback by this sudden embrace of someone he perceives to be a foe. But he can, it's one thing not to fight. It's another thing to actually stay here. He does not. No.
So you need to move. You need to find somewhere else to be, not here, because that
I stay here, to the group. I say, like, look around. The The evils that threatened us were our own fear, My own patron stabbed me just a little, I say so as not to upset Father Ambrose. We were riven by darkness and distrust, and we can mend that by all staying here tonight in brotherhood. And then I look and go outside the walls. Purely a masonry-related issue.
Set a camp outside the monastery, Gunjar?
We should have never left that village with the meager food. But yes, let us set up a camp outside the walls.
You're muted, Alan.
I've been getting much better at that recently. I've slipped into my old ways. Do you have any questions for Father Ambrose now that you've brought him back more to himself, any of you? Aelfwyn, do you have a question for him?
I don't know that I have specific questions for him because I kind of know what happened here. And I'm glad to see that at least one person did survive. But, because I think I got, the details of it, at least from Ulrich's point of view, when he came back with the loot and stuff after it was sacked.
Okay. Gunjar, is there anything you want to ask Father Ambrose, or are you content just to look suspiciously at him?
Are you alone here?
Yes, my son. They killed everyone else, and then they tortured me and left me for dead.
What do you eat? What do you drink? Where do you sleep?
God is good. He grants me berries of the field and water of the rains. It must be said, this man does not look healthy.
Yeah.
I mean, grading on a curve for the time period, I'm sure he could be doing worse.
That's probably true. Thank God he has God. Kiganus.
I want to know if he saw what happened to the relics, among them the horseshoe.
That was the real pain of it. I could have borne anything, but they heated it in a fire and burned me with it. And he'll show you that he is scarred all around his body, including his face. And then they just left me. But I do remember one of them saying that he'd heard some Christian verse about beating swords into plowshares, and laughingly saying, well, perhaps we'll turn this horseshoe into something a bit more dangerous.
And I think I also asked him about whether he's faced demons head on before, and if he would assist us in exorcism, exercising his faculties as a priest again for the group. Because Giannis is thinking we don't just need the relic; we might need privately a superior priest to assist in any further rites.
And that's when
he's a superior priest.
And that's why when in the firelight, you because I guess that where the firelight is falling on the unscarred half of his face, and you see the old Ambrose, the teacher, the learned man, and he looks intently at you, Kiganos, and he says, my son, what you need is faith. Simple faith. God will come when you call, if you have that faith.
And Kiganos kind of ruefully says, citing scripture, I believe, O Lord, help thou my unbelief, as they clasp hands together to pray.
Now, Leah, I misled you earlier when you asked me, is there any way to get rid of those debts? You can get rid of one of those debts if you accept a temptation. And if you have a look at the character sheet, you will see that there are 2 slots for you that could be taken as temptations, which tells you what they are and gives you the kind of what the nature of the compel is. So you could burn one of those debts away simply by taking another temptation. While you're thinking about,
think about that, and I'm just going to be turning off my video for a moment while I take care of it.
I mean, I'm just wondering whether we've reached. I know we're a bit early, but I'm struggling to see what else you're going to do in the next quarter of an hour in order to have time for the end of session moves. This seems like we've got to a reasonable end of episode. So
I'm still turning my cam off for the
no, that's right. Yes.
Baby lands.
So is there anything else Aelfwyn or Gunjar want to do then before we kind of tie up the loose ends of this session?
I don't know if there's anything that I can do. Is there anything that I can do to seek recovery from my wounds?
Yes, you certainly can. Everybody can get rid of that wearied, because by the time we start the next scene in the next session, the wearied will have gone. Simply binding up your wounds will give you one of the wounded conditions back. And I'm just trying to see whether anyone took. I don't think anyone's taken. Oh yes, Kiganos has the Hand of God. When you lay your hands on someone to heal an injury, roll plus steel, and they could clear a condition for one of you. So I'll ask Kiganos whether he wants to lay on hands, and if so, which of these two?
Yeah, let's see for 1 second. So I'm looking at you guys and how you're doing. Now, Aelfwyn, you're all right. Gunjar, do you just have the one wounded mark, so you'll be all right after a rest?
Well, I already cleared the wound from rest, so
Okay, so you have one.
I would still have a remaining wound.
All right, let me just read over my move, but I think I'm amenable to helping you out. Yeah, perfect. All right, yeah. So especially after kind of that pep talk from Father Ambrose, I do kind of, as encouraged by him, come over to offer to pray with you, Gunjar. Are you amenable, or how do you react to? I think maybe I help by binding up your wound first, and then I offer to additionally pray. So I'm doing something concretely helpful before offering this.
If it'll make you feel better, then go ahead.
And Father Kiganos trying to take this in the best light. I was like, how kind of you to offer, spiritual aid to me, just as I offer it to you. What a selfless act. And he's not, it's like pretty clear he's not that fooled by this. He's just like, yes, this is in some way not just an expression of doubt in what I do. Yes. All right, this is a flat roll for me.
If it will quiet your prattling.
It's a 5. More experience for Kiganos, the so-called junior priest who just has experience all the time.
Mark experience. You would still have cleared dying, but that's by the by. But only by taking the burden of the condition you choose to clear as harm. So it has no effect on a wound, sadly.
We're all dying a little.
Just demonstrates, Gunjar, it's all just prattle, isn't it? All this praying business.
Yes, this reaffirms my my conclusions, foregone conclusions.
Actually, I feel like
the old gods are the new.
I'm okay with owing a debt to Gunjar for kind of flaming out spectacularly after he agreed to let me try and help.
Fine. I think that's really nice. So Gunjar, Kiganos owes you a debt. Aelfwyn, anything else you want to do before we roll credits?
So I'm imagining Aelfwyn just taking a little time by herself to kind of come to terms with what she has just kind of spur of the moment just promised that, okay, now we got to settle this whole, like, I chickened out about killing my husband thing. And kind of, I guess kind of praying to her own gods, because she may need their help and be able to finally finish the deal that she struck with them.
I think that that's probably a nice point to finish. So, having seen the new god pretty spectacularly fail to heal Gunjar, we see Aelfwyn in the moonlight, just probably playing with some necklace with a carving of Woden on it, and just contemplating how she's going to get out of this spot she's painted herself in. And that, I think, is where we'll roll the credits. So, experience, end of session experience. Let's start with Gunjar. Did you land the first blow on a dangerous foe?
I don't know if it was a dangerous foe, but the guards, yep.
Yeah, they're all dangerous if they got a sharp thing.
Yeah.
And did you address a challenge with violence?
Absolutely.
So you can mark 2 experience, taking you to 5. So that gives you another move or another improvement. You'll find the improvements on your playbook. Yeah. So give that a bit of thought between now and next time. And I'll forget, but please remember that you've got an improvement to play with. Yeah.
Okay.
Kiganos, did you address a challenge with faith?
I believe so, including just now. Not successfully, but certainly, yes, trying.
Yeah. God's all for trying. And did you put yourself at risk to preach the word of God?
And again, I think, yes, very unsuccessfully, because he, tried to stand up to the raider that turned out to be a priest.
Yeah, no, I give you both of those. Which does that mean you've improved twice in one session through all those failures?
I'm one away.
Aelfwyn, did you put yourself at risk to indulge your weakness?
I don't think so. My weakness came up, but it didn't really put us at risk.
Well, I mean, in as much as you were exposed to a wearied condition. I mean, I'm not going to twist your arm. I'm just.
I don't feel like it really applies because it was a relatively minor thing, and that, as compared to last session where it set off that whole chain of stuff because I insulted the prefect. It seems pretty minor this time. So
okay, I need to give you bigger people to be rude to.
Yeah.
And what about addressed a challenge by referring to your life?
Yeah, that one I get.
Yeah. Okay. I'd like a quick stars and wishes, if that's okay, just so I can set this up for next time. So again, if I start with you, Stentor, any stars?
Yeah, I think just stars to everybody for handling everything really well, and kind of pushing the internal drama in our little group here. With Gunjar wanting to stay and fight people, even though it's not what the rest of the group wants to do, and and there was I loved the bit about shaking the guy like a vending machine to exercise him that we got from Kiganos earlier, and stars to you, Alan, for pulling those bits from our past back into it, because I've been wondering at the end of the other session, how are we going to make my whole backstory of why I'm a revenant relevant, and you drove us right to that, so that was great.
Yeah, I mean, no, you gave what was really good about last time was you gave me plenty of stuff to work with, so that there was lots of balls to throw at you. Yeah, I Kyle, can I just give you a star, because the simple kind of the simple approach would be to say, okay, we'll just walk away now. but I was really pleased that you you're really bedding into that character, and you played Gunjar like Gunjar doesn't give up easily on this stuff. I've got them on the back foot. I'm going to finish them. And yes, Stento, I think I wasn't certain how you were going to get leverage for that deal with the ghosts, and I thought the ring. I'd forgotten about the ring, but the ring was spot on, really good. And Leah, Kiganos just keeps plugging away. Faith will prevail, probably in the end. So yeah, stars all around for all of that. Leah, any stars from you?
Yeah, I loved the ring pledge, Stentor. That was a really beautiful moment, very cinematic. And I love both of your push and pull about leaving. But I think my other best character moment for Gunjar was the discussion of whether or not to eat demons, where it felt like it was just the counterproductive thing of our characters interacting, where it felt like you were leaning towards eating them to spite me. And it was very funny. And I just like the whole world of the burned monastery, Alan. So that's very cool.
Thank you. Yeah, I've been thinking about that monastery a lot this week, and so I was very pleased you ended up going there, I have to say. Any stars from you, Kyle?
Yeah, I'd say this session it started to become more comfortable. I feel like the characters are starting to come more in focus. I've really enjoyed getting to know Aelfwyn and Kiganos. I think Kiganos in particular, I'm entertained by kind of your take on this guy. I feel like I really like the fact that we did choose characters with very different, I guess, theological perspectives in this game about gods. And that's led to a lot of great moments. And honestly, I just feel a lot more comfortable playing this character now because I don't mind Aelfwyn and Kiganos doing the heavy story lifting, and then just being there to almost add just sort of like window dressing. It can be sort of the muscle and that's not usually the kind of character that I play. But I'm really enjoying it. And this is great. Thanks to you guys. So you guys are making it really easy for me.
Yeah, I mean, I need to find some way to bind an act of God into Gunjar, because I think that at some point we've got to kind of confront him with an act of God and see how that goes.
I think that my wish for my character for Gunjar before the end of this entire game is that he has to make, I think eventually I'd like to see where he has to make a choice. I'd like to see him shift one way or the other. And I'd like to see more of that tension between the old gods and the Christian God. And I'd like to see how Gunjar, I'd like to see him shift one or the other by the end of the game. That's my wish for my character.
Yeah, fine. I think I think that would be a really nice little arc if we can manage that.
Maybe Saganos will do something that works one day, and then Gunnar be baptized.
So far, no luck.
That will make it all the clearer that it's a miracle.
What I'm wondering is that if at some point Gunjar has to resort to the gods, whether that's the point at which he has to make a choice about which one he resorts to. I don't know.
Exactly.
See how that goes. Leah, any wishes?
Well, I definitely want, God to call in some debts so that I have a chance of dispelling them. And one way that might wind up happening is that since I do have sloth as the besetting weakness, just being pushed to go into things is a way of dispelling debts. Whether I'm defying danger or pushing my luck on the way in to do it, to resist that compel. But, I think Saganos can use a push sometimes, and God's just the person to give it to him.
Okay, that's I'll take that as very clear permission. And finally, Stento, any wishes for Aelfwyn, or you or Aelfwyn?
Yeah, I want to die. I mean, because I've got this character that's undead, and thus far with the stuff we've done so far, this could have all been, a mortal character who's just like living with this guilt that she chickened out. The fact that I like literally was prevented from dying, aside from that little flash at the beginning of the scene, hasn't been, critical. So I kind of want to get to do something that's like obviously Revenant stuff, like getting killed and using the move where I'm not actually dead or something like that. So
yeah, I mean, I when you tried to talk your way past the prefect, I thought you were going to go full on. I was seeing them both having a go at you, but yeah. So I will try to confront Aelfwyn with something she can't talk her way out of.
Yeah, and I mean when we go, I assume we're headed to Ulrich's Hall. And so if we go there, I could totally see him and his men being like, "Wait, we killed you. Let's kill you again," or something. I could.
Yeah,
lots of ways for me to hit that in the direction this is going. So
I will endeavor to do that. Okay, that's really helpful. Thank you. I'm going to stop recording. So say goodbye to the internet.